Hello and welcome to the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley's program for this week. My name is Midi Chang. I am the immediate past president of this Rotary Club and one of the program hosts. Today I have the honor of being the host for this exciting program, which we are with our guest speaker, Tam Pham. Tam, wave at everyone really quick. Tam is the best-selling author of How to Network and How to Land Your Dream Internship. Tam runs botacademy.com, where he teaches entrepreneurs how to increase conversions and revenues with Facebook Messenger, which is pretty exciting. And I just see that we're also joined by our charter president, Rushton Hurley. Rushton is an educator based out of the San Francisco Bay Area in Santa Clara. He also runs his own nonprofit, Next Vista, which teaches educators how to leverage technology for education. Tam, if you would like to take it away, we're all ears.
Awesome. Midi, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. This whole topic is going to be about networking, which was the premise of my first book, How to Network. The very bold subtitle. The subtitle was Build Instant Trust and Respect with Anyone You Meet. And so with the bold subtitle, I got to back it up. And I want to tell you the story of what happened, why I wrote the book, and what lessons can you take away from networking so that you can apply it to your business, to your relationships, and so on. So when I first wanted to network and meet people, this was because my mentors kept saying, Tam, you got to just go out there and network. Just go network, Tam. Go out there and network. This is my first time in business. I'm like, what does that mean? Like computer networking? Like, no, go meet people. I'm like, okay, that sounds simple enough. And I would go to these conferences and I would meet these people, and I didn't even know what to say. I felt kind of awkward. Like the first question I asked was like, what do you do? Because that was my default question. I got these bunch of business cards at the very end, and I was like, wow, like I networked today. Like I have 50 business cards in my hands. It's freaking awesome. I emailed every one of those business connections, got no response. Not even like, thanks for messaging me. It was just like so empty. I was like, what did I do wrong? I met them. I got their card. I asked them what they did. I did everything right. And what I realized was that something had to be something had to be improved. Something had to change. And the more I talked to people, the more different approaches I got from this. So I remember one instance where I didn't ask them what did they do. I asked them about what their hobbies were and what they did for fun. And we had such a longer conversation and a more fun, engaging conversation with each other. And I was like, wow. And when I did email them afterwards, they actually replied back to me and said, yeah, let's actually get coffee. Let's actually do something together. Let's do something. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's freaking amazing. And this is a very short story of the book where I thought that networking was all about getting business cards, playing golf with other entrepreneurs, and doing business deals together. But in reality, I realized that networking is actually just a phrase to cover up just making friends. And when you know how to make friends, you can network the heck out of everyone. And when you frame it as that networking becomes so much less, you have less anxiety going into conferences knowing that you have to show up in a certain way, but really just making friends, which we've been doing for all of our lives. And that's like the biggest realization that I was like, okay, let me go to all these conferences and just make a bunch of friends. Let's know about themselves as a human, beyond work, beyond how much money they make, beyond what company they work for, and actually get to know them on a personal level. And so that was a really big mindset framing or reframe of this. And another reframe I want to do is I realized that everyone always asks, what's in it for me? Like, why am I meeting this person? I want to get more clients. I want to sell more products. I want to do whatever. It's I. And I learned, and the book shows all these stories, but I learned that this self-interest model does not work. It logically doesn't work. If you go into like a farmer's market and everyone's like, oh, buy my stuff, or buy from my cart. If everyone's doing that, then no one's actually participating in the farmer's market. They got to be a balance of both sides, right? And so when you do go to networking events, I like to see things as less of a self-interest model, what can you do for me, and more of a giving model. what can you do for other people? And there's a very famous book by Adam Grant called Give and Take, where he outlines 3 types of people: matchers, or takers, matchers, and givers. Takers are the people who take, buy, or make, like, take from your relationships, or take your intros, or take a lot of things. Matchers are the ones who match other folks. So if you do me a favor, I'll do you a favor. And givers are the ones who just give, give, give. And this is all backed by science. Adam Grant is a Wharton professor and a researcher. And what he does is he realized that givers are the ones who end up being the most successful people out of all those different archetypes. And the whole book dives into the science between why. But at its core, being a giver goes to the law of reciprocity of psychology. And the law of reciprocity is basically saying, if you give something, or if someone gives something to you, you have a psychological urge to give something back to them. So I think of it like, imagine at a Starbucks, you're waiting for line for Starbucks, and someone in front of you offers to buy you coffee for you. And you're like, whoa, you're so nice. I don't know who you are. You're a stranger, but freaking heck yeah, I want a free macchiato. And then what if they asked you, after they bought you your macchiato, to hold their bag or to wash their bag for them as they use the restroom? Immediate yes, immediate. If they ask me, like, hey, like, can you look up on your phone this one thing because my internet doesn't work? Immediate yes, immediate. For a stranger, that would be kind of awkward. Like, oh, I don't know if I want to watch your bag. That means I'm responsible for it a little bit. But I just have this this urge, this desire to just help you succeed. Not just succeed, but like to help you and for your needs. So this whole premise of give, give, give is the new philosophy of what networking should be. And if you go to a networking event and you have this philosophy and have this mindset, you separate yourself from 90%. I'm just making this number up. Like the majority of people who come in with a self-interest model of like, I want more customers, so I will do my best to sell in this first interaction. When in reality, we never, like, humans don't buy things the very first time they see something. Usually, especially for like high-end products, for like $2,000 products, $10,000 products, a house. You don't buy a house when you first go to open house. You look at a bunch of houses and you build trust with the realtor, or you build trust with the brand that eventually you make the sale later on. So giving, actually, some people might be thinking like, oh, wow, if I only give, then I'll never actually win in life. Actually, when you give, that ironically is when you win. When you build that trust, when you build a relationship before you ever start to sell. And that's a whole nother topic about business and how to give correctly and when to ask and so on. But the premise of networking is to give. And I want to share some examples of how I gave in my career to show you the power of this. So one very simple example is I was a broke college student and I had no money to go to all of these tech conferences that I wanted to learn from the speakers and meet other entrepreneurs. So I didn't have like $1,000 to attend a 3-day thing. So what I did was to volunteer. I gave my time to help the conference out. And when I gave my time, I also gave my my strengths. So I helped with talking to people, or registration, or logistics moving from conference to conference room to conference room. I gave, and I gave to so many different conferences. I volunteered for at least like 50 in the last like couple years because I was broke. I just did not have money to do this, and I wanted to give, and I also wanted to meet other volunteers because they were also in the same boat of you. Usually they're young. Usually they're or they don't have to even be young. A lot of people just wanted to volunteer because they wanted to help and give out and just give back. So through that, whenever I volunteered for the next year, one example is like when I volunteered for the Lean Startup Conference hosted by Eric Ries. What they did was they asked me like, hey, I remember you. You were a superstar volunteer. You like gave so much of your time and effort and you really cared for us. Could we hire you? And I was like, okay, let's hire you for the conference. And I landed my first job, one of my first startup jobs at that conference. Another example is I volunteered for this conference called HustleCon. It's a conference where 15 entrepreneurs come up on stage and share their lessons on what they learned throughout the business. So I volunteered for them, did a fantastic job, went to the pre-volunteer day, volunteered all day at that conference. We were cutting out name tags, got to really know the organizers. And 6 months later, during that 6 months, I kept in touch with the organizers, kept in touch with the people I met there. And I asked the founders of that company, hey, like his name is Sam. Like, hey Sam, I'm looking to join a startup with a big rocket ship potential. Do you have any you can recommend to me? And he said, yeah, you should come join us. And so the week later, I end up signing the offer and sleeping on Sam's couch for the next 3 months to work with this guy. And I'm basically like, it's like a free apprenticeship. I'm getting paid to apprentice under an entrepreneur I admire, which was so nuts. Oh, and going back to the Lean Startup Conference story, like Eric Ries, the founder of the movement, who's a really big name in the tech world, he invited all of us to go to his house to have dinner and just hang out. And so I was the first one there because I like to show up on time. And I remember just like me, Eric, his wife, and his 1-year-old son, and we're just playing with the little building blocks together. And I'm like, what? I was learning about this guy in my college classroom. And now I'm like at his house playing with his kid and talking to him like we're friends. This is insane. And so there's many more stories where I gave, not just to land jobs, but also to build really strong relationships. That's a really big premise of why I wrote the book, How to Network, because people kept asking me, how did you land all these jobs? How did you have dinner at Eric Ries's house? How did you, teach at Stanford about entrepreneurship to teens, and so on? And this is the whole premise behind the book. To take it a step further, I want to talk about what to give and also more advanced things for those who already have this philosophy down. So what you could give is your time, obviously your volunteer efforts, helping out for little things like that. You can also give articles. You can give introductions to people that they should meet. You should give, one thing I do on Facebook is I open up a whole Sunday or sometimes a couple hours for a time block for anyone to ask me anything they want. And not just like an AMA, but more like I can help you with anything. I can help you walk through your article. I can help you with your marketing. I can help you with a question you have about identity, or if you want space to talk about whatever's going on in your life. I offer the time block, and it's so amazing that when people ask me things, because one, it's also like a personal branding thing. Like you kind of see what they know you for. But I have people ask me for marketing help, for business help, for writing help. I had one friend who asked me to speak because he was going through suicide, or he was going through like a huge depression and committing suicide. And we met up at a McDonald's at 1 a.m. in the morning or whatever it was, and we just talked it out. I was like, "This is insane!" Like help, like, and this guy is like, he like thanks me so much now. Even though this was like a couple of years ago, he's still like, "Dude, Tam, like." He didn't say like save my life, but he meant it as in like, dude, if it wasn't for Tam, if it wasn't for that conversation, like I don't know where I'll be right now. And he'll basically, I'm not like trying to abuse relationships saying he'll do anything for me, but I'm saying that he now has such a big urge to like help those who helped him. Very similar to how I want to help all my mentors, all the people who have taken a risk, help Sam who let me sleep on his couch for 3 months, even though that wasn't the most desirable spot for him. I mean, it's insane. And when you give, just magical things come back to you. And especially when you give without expectation. So when I do volunteer, I don't expect anyone to give me a job or to make an introduction or anything like that. I just give because I want to help out. I want to get involved. And I already won when I give. I already won. I have no expectations. For example, with HustleCon, with the conference I volunteered for, I already won. I already learned all the cool stuff at HustleCon that had to offer, the speakers. I got to meet all the other volunteers, which expanded my network. It's just amazing what happens when you just give without expectations. And when things do come back to you, you're obviously like top of mind because you already come from that place of just giving. And that's my whole philosophy. That's where it came from. A more advanced version of this is that if you want to be really intentional with how you give and who you spend time with, I have what is called a personal CRM, customer relationship manager, very similar to like a Salesforce or whatever software you use to store your customers for your business. I have a personal CRM where I have a list of like a couple hundred contacts of all the people in my life who I love and have massive respect for, and even those who I want to get to know more. I have tags for each of those friends. So that, for example, a tag could be like entrepreneur, podcaster, author, and so on and so on. So that if someone asks me, hey, Tam, do you know any venture capitalists investing in media? I can tag media. I can search up the tag venture capitalist, and boom, a dozen contacts pop up. And I can make the introductions with the email right there. So So that's taking a step further. And in an ideal scenario, the personal CRM would give you like constant reminders, like, "Hey, it's been like 2 months since you reached out to this man or woman. You should probably catch up and reach out again." Or it's been 6 months since we had dinner. Reach out again. Unfortunately, I'm using a very basic Google Sheets, which means that anyone can do that. And like you watching could make a Google Sheets and do this exact thing with a tagging convention. So I refer back to it often because I care very much about who I meet, and I try to be very intentional on the relationships that I build. And this CRM massively helps because life happens. Things get fall apart. You forget people, you forget moments and such, and you want to do a better job and keep in touch. And I have this personal spreadsheet to do this. So to recap all of this, don't network when by asking like the boring questions and going straight to business. We want to instead build trust and relationships through friendship. And when you have friends who appreciate you, support you, love you for who you are, then you want to do all you can to give to those friends. And when you give to friends, good things come back to you. And you want to be intentional and take a step further. You want to be intentional with your friends and have a personal CRM to make sure that you have everything in store for what you plan to do with your network. So that's my talk on how to network. And I'm open to hearing your questions.
Awesome. Tam, that was an amazing presentation. Thank you so much for sharing your story and some of your insights. I definitely have been to some of these networking events where, especially like Chamber of Commerce networking events where, often you see the takers and then the matchers, as you put it, right? So it's great to see that philosophy of giving, which I definitely agree with. And I'm sure a lot of our viewers and members who will be watching this program will have similar experiences as well. I wanted to get your insights a little bit more about how was that process with writing your book, the How to Network and Land Your Dream Internship, and also, I believe you launched a book and it became a best-selling book. If you could talk a little bit more about how that process happened, I think our audience would love to hear about that.
Yeah, definitely. So there's two options. You can either self-publish your book or you can publish it to a publisher. Many pros and cons. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds. I chose to self-publish my book, which is actually a very simple process once you get the research done. I love this one book called Book Launch by my friend Chandler Bolt. He basically an A to Z guide on how to self-publish a book. And it's like $3 on Amazon. So I just used those exact steps and I got it published. And I'll be totally transparent. The best-selling author is like, it's the truth behind the word best-selling is that you are number one in a category, and you can get to number one in a category on Amazon very quickly if you have number one on certain categories that aren't as popular. So you see a lot of best-selling authors who are best-selling books because they have, number one on like spirituality, goats or something. And you're like, what? That doesn't make any sense. But they're a best-selling author. Luckily, my categories were communication and internships and networking. So those are actually like a little more competitive, but it's not like super crazy hard to get the bestseller. You have to sell for those bigger categories, maybe a couple thousand books or a couple hundred books in the very first couple days to get number one. And then you have to stay there. You keep selling those books to get number one, but you'll eventually fall off and become like a regular, not number one. But on the book launch day, that's when like the rankings go up and more. It's a snowball effect. Once you're number one, people find your book and you keep going up and up and up in terms of book sales. So I recommend book launch, and I want you to rethink the term best selling. And I'll be totally honest and candid with you.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I also wanted to get your insights about Bot Academy, and I know that's what you're working on right now, and so you might actually also have to explain how easy it is to launch a Facebook Messenger bot for some of our audience members. But I'd love to hear more about what are you guys doing there, and what are you doing on a day-to-day there?
Yeah, definitely. So Bot Academy. So forget the word bot. Don't pretend you never heard it. Basically, all the businesses are marketing through email. You see the promotions tab happen all the time. People are trying to get the open rates up, click rates up, so that you can see their blog posts. You can buy stuff in their store. The problem is that email was really great back then. 80% open rates, 50% click rates, and so on. But 20 years later, like now, the average click rates and open rates are so low. So 20% open rates are on average, 2 to 4% click rates are on average. That means that your audience that you work so hard to get are no longer clicking on your emails. They're no longer engaging with you. And so what happens in this world where your audience don't engage with you in the platform that once used to be the best? So that's where Bot Academy comes in. And this happened when the founder, Andrew, was wondering like, how do I communicate with my wife, my kids, my friends, my business connections? What channels do I use? Oh, I use iMessage. I use Facebook Messenger. I use all these chat apps. I use Slack to communicate with my coworkers. I'm not using email as much as I used to. And I actually don't like email. It's not as fun as all these other platforms. You can use like funny GIFs and emojis and so on. And so that makes sense. So he asked like, if everyone is on Messenger, why aren't businesses marketing to people where they're at? Which is where Bot Academy comes in. We teach entrepreneurs how to market their business through Facebook Messenger or through the channels that people are actually on. And so we have a whole course around it. Andrew and I teach the course. We have a paid community and a public community where people can learn. We also have a blog where people can learn for free. And it's been quite a journey. We've been helping like thousands of entrepreneurs actually with chatbot. Or the word is called chatbots, but it's really just messenger marketing. You're just marketing through a different channel. And there's different ways that you can't market the same way from email on Messenger. And our course teaches you exactly how to do it. And if you really want to go all the way with the course, we teach you how to gain a client to build chatbots for. So that's what we're doing at Bot Academy. And it's been less than a year, and we've already reached a good revenue number and a strong team and a lot of successful students.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Russian, I'm going to turn it to you for a question or comment.
So very cool to hear what you're talking about. I love that that the style of the message is one that can really work well for young people in particular, people who are kind of early into their careers. Although I think you've got a lot of good ideas for those of us who are not as early into our careers. All good. But one thought that came to mind that kind of combined two pieces of your message. I've written a couple of books as well, and one of the things that we were doing about it is we were like, hey, how can we take the kinds of ideas that are in the second book? It's called Making Your Teaching Something Special, and get it out to a wider audience, right? How can more people know about this stuff? And we took the kind of giving approach that you described. And as of the recording this very week, we're doing a thing called the 5-Day Teacher Challenge. And essentially what I did was I wrote to about 120 and 150 buddies who have substantial followings on Twitter and Facebook and other social media. And said, hey, could you help me hype this? And all we did was say, hey, look, there's no cost, no obligation, but each day over the course of 5 days, we're going to send out this note, and you can go to the blog, and there'll be like some little challenge that can help you become a better teacher. So the idea is to just help teachers learn that there are easy ways to improve and to have fun with it as well. And so we've got over 2,000 people in 40 countries actually working on this, which is really quite fun. And totally thanks to people that I reached out to and say, hey, could you share this? Could you help with this? And essentially because there's kind of a history of, hey, how can I help you? That's cool. Hey, tell me more about that. I figure that it kind of meets your description really well. So
Congratulations.
So that said, I think I'd come back and say that the kind of message you give about the value of giving certainly has its value in terms of networking and developing contacts. And I think, your interest in volunteering at conferences and things like that. I mean, it's just totally how to do it. I mean, such good advice for young people. But I think it's also worth taking time just explicitly to say that orientation is good for leading a happy life, right? I mean, if you find that what you're doing is meaningful to others, then good things come along, in part because people want to be around people who seem to have clued into how to be happy. And I think all of us that are in Rotary are in kind of a similar space, where we're like, I get a lot out of giving. So I love that you've kind of combined those ideas in that way. And so I'm, when you talked about volunteering, a lot of that came down to the work that you do, in part of marketing and things like that. And so for my very long comment, to get to this point, what other kinds of volunteering do you do? What kinds of things do you like to do with your time when you're saying, hey, I just want to get out and help and make the world a better place? Is there something that's kind of there for you for that? That's different from what else you do?
So personally? Yeah, actually, it's very funny you mentioned this because I was not in a very strong place in my life over the last couple of years. Like foundationally, my habits were bad. I wasn't financially stable, and all these different things. But now that I am in a very good place where I have a lot of my needs met, basic needs met, and things are moving forward, it's a much more stronger priority for me to give back and to volunteer, because you have to help yourself before you help others. So I'm a mentor at some organizations like Draper University, Uncollege, and some other. I'm also a kind of on an advisory board for this podcast for young people. And I also reach out to Interact, my home club, where I want to give back. And actually, very recently, Mitty was there as well at the conference. I was one of the speakers there to help give back. So I asked them, hey, can I help give back in any way to DC or district council or to the club or the district? And they're like, yeah, we actually have a gig, event coming up. You should speak and give back that way. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And I'm actually talking with the Interact district council chair about becoming a possible advisory board or member to their district council. So I'm currently trying my best to give back now that I have the space and time, and I'm experimenting with it. It could be like, this could be the one way I give back. I'm also creating videos and writing more stuff, so that could be another way I give back. And I'm just excited to see where I can experiment with it.
Very cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Awesome. Tam, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to our club and making this presentation. It's been really great listening to your insights into how to network properly and a little bit better, the strategy of being a giver. And I'm going to make sure that underneath this video, we're going to have some links to your website, as well as a link to your book, and also a link to Bot Academy as well, so that anyone who's reading any of this can go ahead and check out what you do and what you're involved with. I'm going to turn it to you, Tam, for some last closing words before we wave bye to everyone.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Mitty. I appreciate it. Thanks, Rushton. I'm super happy to be here. I'm happy to help out anyone who needs it. My personal email address is write to Tam Pham, WRITETO, tampham @gmail.com. Shoot me a message, holler, and I'll help you out any way I can.
Awesome. Thank you again, Tam, for your time. And thank you, everyone, for viewing. We will see you next week. Bye for now.